Hello and welcome back to another episode of Brightening Barrow. In today's episode, we're going to be doing something different. Yes, I know, again! In this episode, we're going to be showing you things to do. If you've listened in previous episodes, we mentioned a few times what sort of things you can be doing at home. But we decided it would be a good idea to actually show you. So we've got a couple of things lined up for you that we'll walk through it, and there'll be information in the description and on the website, which hopefully should be uploaded by the time this video goes out. Insert video clips here, and the other one here, and possibly a third one here. Maybe, we'll see how long it is.
We've often talked about things to do, so I'm going to be showing you how to make Welsh cakes. It's sort of baking, I mean it's got cake in the name, but really all it is you're going to make a dough, roll it out, cut it up, and then you're just going to fry it. You can do as many as you like or as little as you like. So I'm going to be showing you this recipe. Or you can obviously just adjust the quantities to however many you need. Say if you want to make half, just divide all things by 2. It's very simple to do. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take flour, salt and spice. I'm going to put this into this bowl here and then we're going to rub in some fat. Okay, so what we're going to do is you're going to take 225 grams of self-raising flour. Now, I unfortunately don't have any, but that's alright. So if you don't have any self-raising flour, what you're going to do is you're going to put in your amount of plain flour, like that, very easily anyway. So we're going to take, it's 225 grams, so we're going to take 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Obviously if you're using self-raising flour, you don't need to do this. So we're going to do 1, 2, and then just a little bit for that 25. Right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to add this straight into the bowl like this. Next thing we're going to measure out is the fat, and we're just going to leave that in here because the quantities for the salt and sugar are very small. So we've got the bowl of flour here. We're going to take our fat, and what the fat is just butter, proper butter that is. You don't want to use sort of the easy spread type stuff that you would normally put in your toast. What we're going to do is we're going to take 110 grams of this. If we just measure that out. Like I said, we're just going to leave that in there for the time being. We're going to rub that in and I'll show you how to do that. So next we're going to take 1 teaspoon, so a teaspoon again like we used before, of mixed spice. Now you can buy this anywhere really. So we're going to take a teaspoon of this. If we do it over the bowl, that means that any extra falls, a bit like that, falls in. Now I like the flavour of mixed spice, so I'm not too bothered if a little bit more goes in. And then we're just going to take a pinch of salt. So if you just put some into your hand like that and then put it on, dust that off. Now we've pre-measured the butter as we did earlier. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add this straight in. So we can move the measuring thing out of the way. Now what I'm going to show you is a technique called rubbing. So what you're doing is you're coating all the flour in the butter, you're mixing everything together. What you don't do is get a big wooden spoon and start mixing around really hard. Don't do that. And equally, so this is all hands, and equally don't mix it all in with your hands. You need to be using your fingertips because your palms are really hot and that'll melt the butter, and you don't want that. So we're just going to pick it up with our hands and just sort of rub it, because it's called rubbing. So some of your butter might be a little bit too large. We just take that and squidge it a bit. So you need to sort of pick it up, rub it in between your fingers, tips of your fingers. I mean, yes, flour's getting all over my hand, but I'm using the tips of my fingers like this, rubbing it together, rubbing everything in, and then dropping it back down, picking it up, rubbing it with my fingers. We're going to just do this. this is the sort of technique that you'll pick it up eventually. It'll be difficult to start with, but you'll get the hang of it. So, rubbing is a technique that's used in lots and lots of different things. So if you want to start baking, or even just making lots of Welsh cakes, you do need to be practicing this. Now you should be able to see we've got some large lumps like this, and this is still butter, but most of it's really fine. We're not going to stop there, but you know that it's getting there when it's getting quite fine. There's not many lumps. There will always be some lumps. That's what you're doing. You're getting rid of the lumps almost, making sure everything's coated, everything's mixed in. Oops. Also helps if you don't throw it all over the place. Make sure to get right in there with it. So you want to, whilst you're rubbing it, you want to take it up and spill it out like this. So take it from the middle and put it out. Keep doing that, this motion, whilst rubbing it obviously. Pick it up, rub it, drop it back down. This makes sure that it's mixed as well. So this is just mixing it, coating everything in the butter and the flour. This will form the basis of our dough. So what we're doing is we're going to be making a dough. We then roll it out and we fry it. Only a couple of minutes either side. Like I say, what you do is you can either eat them all at once, although I wouldn't recommend that. Certainly with these quantities you get quite a lot. But if you wrap it up as a dough, or even just as the individual cakes, you can put it in your fridge and it'll be five on the day or so. So already when you're doing this you can really smell this mixed spice. Obviously you can't, but you can imagine the smell. So with the mixed spice, let's say you can buy it anywhere. I haven't tried it, I always use mixed spice, but you can always experiment with other spices. If bit early for some people, but we are nearing Christmas. I'll say that, we're still partway through October, but if you wanted to do a Christmassy-esque thing, then you could do cinnamon. You can do all sorts of flavours if you want to. Just experiment. A lot of baking is about measuring things out, getting it perfectly right. But there are other things that you can experiment with. So you see, we're almost there now. It's really, really fine breadcrumb consistency. Not quite there yet. Still lots of lumps of butter. If it helps, what you can do is you can take your mixture. You see it's still sort of on my fingers, and then if you just let it fall down with your thumb, push it down with your thumb and mix it in like that. That also works. Like this. Pick it up, rub it down. Pick it up, rub it down. That's all you're doing. I'm just doing it to the side. Picking it up, rubbing it in. So, as you can see now, it's all coated in. Just bring that a little closer to the camera so you can see. See all this. You can really see how fine it's going to get. It doesn't take too long. It takes a amount of time, but that's nothing to worry about. So we'll leave that there. Next thing to do is we're going to add the sugar and the fruit. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our scales out again. Turn them on, which are the raisins here. I'm going to take 75 grams of caster sugar and the same amount of whatever fruit. I would recommend using sort of sultanas, raisins, currants, that sort of thing. Dried fruit works the best. You can do it with other things. I've done it with blueberries in the past. That does make it a little hard to roll out those because you can only do it to the certain thickness of the blueberries. You can't preserve it as well. But again, experiment with the fruit, do what you like really. Almost there. So 4. It's only 5. There we go. So we're going to add that into our mix as well. And then we're going to get our dried fruit. I'm using sultanas. You can use a mix if you want, so you can either make your own or buy the ready mix things. It doesn't really matter. But 75 grams of it. So if you're doing this for different quantities, caster sugar and your fruit are exactly the same. Quite an easy blender. So 6 split like that doesn't matter too much. In quantities, it's not a massive deal if you're too much over. And the next thing that you can add is the zest of a lemon. So you don't have to. You can, you can't. I'm choosing not to. So what you want to do is you want to just get a grater and then zest half of a lemon into it, and it is quite good, yeah. But that's totally up to you. You don't have lemon, do have lemon. Doesn't affect it anyway. Some people like it, some people don't. So I'm just going to give this just a quick mix just to make sure everything's together. Get some large lumps of sugar like this to break up. So we're almost finished here. Like I said, this is a very, very simple recipe. Okay, so we don't actually need the scales anymore, so we can put those to the side. Now we're going to add our egg. So we're going to add the egg in and we're going to bind this dough together. I'm just going to use a knife. You can use a spoon, you can use your hands if you want, it doesn't really matter. Like the egg, break it like that. Don't worry if the yolk splits, it's not too much of a deal. Whenever you're dealing with raw egg, make sure you go wash your hands, same with any meat. Don't know whether you can hear this or not, but it is torrential rain where I am now. So I mean, this is probably one of the best things, one of the things you can be doing when you're when it's raining like this. So you can use anything to bind this together. So this is more of your traditional round the edge, bring it to the middle, round the edge, bring it to the middle, round the edge, bring it to the middle, round the edge, bring it to the middle. Make sure to turn your bowl as well. It all gets in here. Just binding it all together. In fact, I'm going to start using my hands. Actually, it'll be a lot easier. So still the same things, binding it together. Just squishing it, mixing it all together, forming your dough. You can see some of it starting to clump together. That's what you want. That's what you want to see. Make sure to get all of it in. This is why it possibly is best to do this sort of thing with your hands, because you can really get in there. Mix it all together. Get stuff in your hands, just rub it off. See, I'm really getting under it because you don't want to leave anything not mixed. It's not particularly good. See, I've got a lump of sugar here. I just need to break this up. There we go. Fortunately, this is not a recipe that you can take a break in. Let me just bring this a little closer. You can really see that it starts to come together really quite quickly, but it's still not good enough. You need the whole thing to form just sort of one big dough ball. So lift this up, you can see that mixed in aren't quite sticking together. Just keep at it. Keep at it until you're nearly there. Starts off fairly slow, but once you get into it, really quite easy. It starts forming together really quickly. You can see now I've almost got everything. Just this tiny amount left in the bowl. If you're doing it with some instrument like a spoon, when it starts clumping together, then use your hands. Do not use a spoon, especially for this. So you can see it's sticking together now. I've got one nice big lump of dough like this. Right, so we'll plump that back in the bowl. Once you've got the big ball of dough like this, just put it to the side for the moment. You can take your rolling pin And you can take your flour again. So flour is really, really quite important for this. Use a lot of flour. So what you want to do is you want to just coat your surface slightly with some flour, like this. Put it out. This is just to stop it sticking. Yeah, a bit more. You want to do the same for your rolling pin as well. So if I just put a little on there, it means I'm not sticking my hands in the flour. I can just coat this here. You really don't want this to be sticking. It's like, no, put this in the dough, put this on the thing, and you don't need your bowl anymore. You're now going to start rolling. So start from the middle, push out, middle, push out, and back. Middle, push out, and back. You see, it sometimes does start cracking. That's nothing to worry about. That's just the type of dough it is. So you're just going to keep rolling this out. Make sure to roll this evenly. So roll it one way for a bit, turn it round, roll it the other way. Keep a nice even pressure on it all the way. You want it about 5 centimetres thick in all. Sorry, 5 millimetres. You don't want 5 centimetres. That's really quite big. So half a centimetre if you like. So I'm just going to a bit more like that. There you go. This is nice and round. So now what you're going to do is you're going to cut it up. You can cut it up however you like. I just use a cookie cutter. You can use a knife if you want, make some fancy shapes. It's not really that important what you do to cut it. So we're going to take our simple cookie cutter like this. We're going to plonk it on. This one has either a ribbed edge or a smooth edge. I'm going to be using the ribbed one. Now I've only managed to find a small pan, so I'm only going to be cutting, doing a few of these, probably about 4 or 5, just to show you how to cook them. And I'm going to be putting the rest, wrap it in cling film, and then putting that in the fridge, so I can enjoy that tomorrow. So we're just going to cut a couple, push down with cookie cutter, turn it in. If it sticks, just sort of push it out with your finger like that. Doesn't matter too much if there's a bit of excess. Put these to the side. Squish your dough back together. So obviously once you squish it back together, you're going to need to re-roll it. So if you're making lots of these, you're probably going to do a lot of rolling. You can only roll a certain amount of time. So I've only made 4 because that's all that will fit in the pan that I've got. So what we're going to do is we're just going to squish this dough back together like this. And really you sort of want to use this, you want to kind of use this in 2 goes, maybe 3. I usually make a lot more than this because then I can get for more people than are currently here. So we're going to squish this back together. And then we're just going to wrap this in cling film. We're going to put it into the fridge so that we can use it later. Okay, so now we're going to take our pan, stick this on the stove like this. We're going to add a little bit of oil, again just to stop it sticking. Like that. Grab a spatula. Just your spatula just to flip it over, and then what we're going to do is we're going to heat the oil for a little bit, just so it's not spitting hot, but so that it's hot. You always need to heat your oil before you put anything in, even if you're frying an egg. Well, no, especially if you're frying an egg. So there we go. I'm going to heat the oil up for a little bit. Just turn it down. This needs to be on a fairly low flame, if you see. Got on that. Don't know whether you can see that or not. Just going to heat the oil up just temporarily. Making sure it's all heated up. Don't spill the oil on the flame, otherwise you get a really big flame. Now that's quite impressive. You do that for something. You flambe some things, but please use alcohol. That works a lot better than oil. Don't burn your oil. Okay, now this is really important. Whenever you're doing anything, any cooking, whenever you're doing anything in the pan, place things into the pan, never throw it. So what I'm going to do is going to take our cut out Welsh cake, I'm just going to place that into the pan like that. Take another one, place that into the pan like that. Place in, so put the edge in and lay it down. And then, my pan's a little small, I can't quite get these 4 in, so I'm going to cut these 3 and then cut the one later. So what you're looking for, you can see that they're starting to cook now. Like I say, it's a couple of minutes each side, but they should rise, especially if you've got self-raising flour. That's what you need. You can sort of describe them a little bit like a squish scone, if you like. It's a fairly similar mixture to the scone, fairly similar dough, sorry. But you would bake a scone rather than fry it off. I say fry it, you griddle it, so you can use a griddle pan if you want, whatever works. Just going to check these now. Make sure to keep these separated, because you don't want them sort of forming together. So if you move it and they're still squishing, then they're nowhere near ready. So just wait a little bit longer. Always keep an eye on it. Make sure they're not burning. You'll tell that they're burning because you can smell it. But don't wander off and leave, because like I say, it's only a few minutes either side. You can see these are starting to cook. Oops. See, these are starting to have done on one side. So we're going to flip them over, let them do the other side for a little bit. And then I always let this side do a little bit longer, and then just flip it over once again. And you see, mine have started to fall apart a little bit. That's nothing to worry about. They'll do that. Okay, so we're now going to check the other side of them. See how they're doing. Okay, this one's falling apart. Like I say, it's nothing too much to worry about. This one is perfect. This is the sort of colour you're looking for. This sort of, it's going to look more brown than it is golden brown. Like I say, it looks a bit like a scone. And this one's done a little bit. Just going to leave these in for a moment longer. And this is great to stack a couple of them up, put a knob of the butter that you've just used to make them with, make a nice cup of tea. They work brilliantly with that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take them off the pan and we're going to start to serve them up. So I'm just going to turn the gas off. We've got a plate here. Take the pan. So I've got 4, so I'm going to put 2. I've got 2 plates, so I'm going to put 1 there, 1 there. I'm going to serve the other one up later. Grab another loaf. This works really well with 3 actually. Put a third one on top of the butter, let it let it cook and melt down all over. So we're just going to put a small amount of butter on each of these and let that melt. Then we can go make our cup of tea and have it with this. So knobs of butter on there, and you can go make our tea. There you have it, Welsh cakes. They don't look particularly good in this light, but they'll look far better once you've when you made them yourselves. Really simple recipe. If you want the recipe written down, then there'll be a link to where you can find it in the description, or it will just be written down in the description. So thank you for watching, and well, make some Welsh cakes. We now move to our usual section of the good news stories, starting with £550,000 has been awarded to Barrow Council by the government as part of the £900 million fund to help businesses through the coronavirus pandemic.
The NSPCC is making Christmas a bit easier by launching their first Christmas catalogue, which will include gift ideas for children and adults. And the NSPCC have said that because of the unexpected events this year, children need their services now more than ever. So
good news for you living near and in Dalton. Brown Cow, which I'm fairly sure that if you live in Dalton, you'll be very familiar with, that is now back open all week after it's been dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. It's praised all of its supporters there, everyone who's helped it. So thank you very much for all of the support through the difficult times.
Barrow AFC has been given the green light to build a camera gantry to film games with because they have started their first season in the Football League, and more of their matches are going to be broadcast on TV, which is very good. So yeah, they're going to be putting it on the roof of one of the stands at the Hulk Street ground.
Back in August, you may or may not remember, but there was a dino trail being held in Barrow for young people. This is being revived, but this time it's a scarecrow one for Halloween. So young people are being invited to take part in a scarecrow trail this Halloween, much like the Dino Egg one. So have a go. You may remember a few episodes ago I mentioned about the website. Well, good news. Hopefully by the time this video has gone out, the website will be up and running. There will be a link to this in the description. There you can find videos that we've posted. It's linked to the YouTube channel. You'll also be able to find some exclusive clips when we get round to publishing them. Also on the website there will be where you can find what we've talked about today. So any of the information that you received today, anything that you heard about, will also be on the website, so you can access it with more ease, such as the recipe for the Welsh cakes, that will be on there. So go check that out. It should be really good. It should also help open another form of communication between you and us. So please tell us what you think. Tell us if you want to do more of this type of video where we show you things to do. If you've got something that you want to share with everyone, again, let us know, drop us an email, and we'll put it in one of these types of episodes. So yeah, please get in touch. Tell us what you want. Tell us what you want us to do, and we'll try our best to do it.
Thank you for watching episode 7 of the Brightening Barrow podcast, where we aim to brighten Barrow at one stream at a time.